one of the things I've loved about this season of the challenge, Sheldon, is all the people that have been defending Paulie. And all I gotta say is,
hold on. There's people defending Paulie. Who's defending Paulie?
on Facebook, on the Facebook challenge group, and I'm excited to see where they at after tonight's episode of the challenge Final Reckoning. Cue the DMX. Where the hood at?
Hold on. Where? But like, on what basis have people been sticking up for Paulie? I've completely missed the Paulie corner here. Like, this is amazing because the whole time, I don't know how many times I wrote down, like, Paulie is so annoying, Paulie needs to shut up, and then at the same time cheered on when someone else would echo that point.
Yeah.
Whether it was Amanda or whether it was Zach or whoever, like, yeah, this whole episode just seemed to be an indictment to Paulie's whole being on this show. No?
Yeah, the assassination of Paulie by the coward. I mean, he shot himself in the foot, really. Paulie. People are saying that he's got like the right attitude for the game. He's funny. Like,
see, I took him as someone who was trying to do like a terrible Johnny Bananas impersonation. Like, I took him as like he watched the game and then thought, okay, this is how I'm going to come in and this is how I'm going to play it. And instead, like, I don't know, it just seemed really odd. And especially in the instance of how many times he mentions his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I know we're saying that in hindsight, knowing what's going to happen with him and Kara or whatever, but at the end of the day, it still seems like super weird for you to be making these like over the top calls on other people when you're not even taking care of your own shit. You know what I mean?
I do. But let's start at the beginning with introductions. I'm John Chidley Hill.
And I am Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge, talking about Final Reckoning this season, as we already alluded to. Off the top, I'm going to say I did not love this episode of the challenge. That might be my own fault. I had a chocolate milkshake at dinner, and milkshakes make me really sleepy. But okay. I thought I had rallied, but I don't know. I wasn't feeling this episode.
So, to me, it's on the exact same kind of wavelength as the season's been so far. They're doing so much of this whole... Like, the whole beginning part of this episode was all, like, house stuff and what's going on with this person and that person and Chuck and Brittany and all this stuff. And they're giving you, like, over the top, all this background stuff. But, like, really nothing was actually going on in the house. And I feel like... I don't know when this time is going to happen, but I feel like it's going to snap into being actual game stuff. Because I still feel like they're trying to give you the background of Nelson and Kaylee and Johnny Bananas and Natalie. And they're trying to give you all these backstories before the actual things in the house take place. And the only reason I was okay with this episode, and I'm saying okay because I didn't think it was a great episode either. The only reason I was okay with it was because everything I think kind of led up to the very end where Paulie starts trying to throw shade back at Brad and make up all the lies about Brittany in the redemption house. Do you know what I mean? Like, so in a sense, it was kind of like, okay, it took a really long way to get there, but this is like, there's a method to it all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It took a really long way to get there, but there's a method to it.
So I think my thing is, I just don't like the Redemption House twist anymore. Not that I was ever really sold on it, but just like, if you lose, you're out. Like, and like, in terms of the timeline of the show, this is the 4th episode of Final Reckoning, and I think they've only been in the house for 4 days. Like, this is just like, it's too much.
That was the thing, because Zach did say that Paulie lost 2 elimination rounds in 24 hours.
Yeah, episodes 3 and 4 were definitely like a 48-hour span.
So, to me, that part's amazing, right? So, they've made 4 episodes already out of basically nothing. We've seen, 2 challenges?
Yeah.
But do you even count the very first challenge? Does that even count? Right? So, it's been a weird season so far. And again, I think I'm beginning to understand what they're trying to do. Now, are they being successful in that? I don't know, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us care about these people because there's a lot of new characters, but without all of this background, like, are you rooting for Brittany and Chuck? You know, like, do you care enough about Brittany and Brad's relationship? We've already gone over, you know, what's going on with Paulie, and Paulie's already going to be, he's been sort of the focal point, you know, the main character of the early season of the challenge, right?
Yeah.
And you're either going to really like Paulie or you're really going to dislike Paulie. But to me, it seemed like a lot of this has just been about character development. And so if you're new to the show, you're getting to know all these people. Even if you've watched the show, you might not be that familiar with Paulie. You're not that familiar with Davon, Jose. You're not familiar with Brittany. Well, you are Brittany, yeah, but Chuck. Do you know what I mean? And it's about getting to know these people.
Yeah.
Still getting to know Kyle, for example. And again, I don't know if it's working, but I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I guess so. And, like, this is certainly, like, their news judgment, to use a journalism term, their news judgment is correct, right? And they did a good job of laying last episode the groundwork of the tension between Chuck and Brittany, and also the tension between Cara, Kyle, Paulie, and to a lesser extent Faith. We start this episode off in the main house. I think it picks up basically maybe within an hour of the elimination where Paulie and Natalie are quote unquote sent home. And Cara is still super salty at Kyle. And she does something that I love where she tells Kyle to suck her dick. And I always think it's hilarious when women tell people to suck their dick. I don't know why. It cracks me up every time.
I feel like that's been a classic Cara go-to move.
Yeah.
I feel like she's done that a lot before in the past. I feel like it's one of the things she's been made fun of for saying all the time because it's one of her go-tos. But you're right. She was totally salty in that situation. But I did kind of like how Kyle was going at her, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny, right? And it's unjust, but at the same time, they're both playing the game with each other, right? And so he won.
Yeah.
In that instance, he won. And so, hey, and you get to talk to shit.
Yeah. Paulie and Natalie, of course, we've already touched on this, go to the Redemption House. Natalie says she's excited to see Jose and Davon. It didn't occur to me, like, she said that they're her best friends. You would have to tell me if that's true or not. But, like, it never occurred to me that this could be a Big Brother alliance. Like, they never really had the opportunity to form one. But, like, those two pairings seem to get along reasonably well. Like, they seem to function a little bit. So, and Jemmy picked up on it too.
Jemmy should really be like a second host, or they should have like another version of the challenge that you could watch with, instead of director's commentary, Jemmy's commentary.
I love Jemmy.
Right? I think that would work.
I like Jemmy more and more.
That would be a thing, right? On MTV, you watch the normal version, but on MTV2, you could watch the Jemmy commentary. I'd watch. I'd be in on
Does
that.
MTV2 still exist?
I'm sure it does. Why not? I'm sure it does. I don't know who has it, but I'm pretty sure it does.
First Canadian fact of the podcast, since we realized that this is a half Canadian info podcast. In Canada, we only...
MTV2 is definitely still a thing.
It still is. In Canada, we only have one MTV, and we've only ever had one MTV. So...
No, that's not true. That's definitely not true.
Really?
Yeah, no, that's not true. We definitely had MTV2. I've had MTV2 before in the past.
I somehow missed
this. It's probably just because I work for a certain company, so I have like...
True enough.
a very good cable package.
But
yeah.
I thought it was... Isn't MTV owned by the other company?
Yeah, it definitely is.
But you still get it? Or got it?
Yeah, you still get everything for whatever, 50 off or whatever the discount is.
Okay.
Yeah, no, MTV2 is definitely a thing.
Oh.
So yeah, our Jemmy idea, if they steal it, we know where it came from first.
I hate to tell you this, but we are not the only ones to suggest this. People are always tweeting at Jemmy that she should have her like director's commentary, or she should just become the permanent host. And I agree. Like, she has such good insight. I'm trying to take credit
for it, John, and you're not helping right now.
Sorry. The person who tweeted it was Sheldon Alexander, at Shell Alexander. Saved it. Boom. It's that damn milkshake.
I mean, Jemmy picked up on it, right? And here's the thing. You realize, especially if you're Natalie came into the house, but she doesn't really have that many allies, right?
No.
Like, a lot of people are kind of skeptical of her because of the game that she played last season, where she was kind of ping-ponging all over the place, right?
Yeah.
She was with Johnny, then against Johnny, and then bouncing all over the place. So I think there's trust issues for sure. So if you have a common bond being on Big Brother before, you're going to be more likely to bring, and they're new players, you're going to be more likely to bring them onto your side to kind of show them the ropes. And they're probably going to want to learn a little more from you as well, because obviously you have the experience that they don't. So in that instance, it makes sense. Were they all friends on the show? I don't think so. No, I think and Big Brother's such a different game, right? Which I'm going to get into later, because I think that Paulie's biggest mistake is he's thinking this is like Big Brother, right? And in Big Brother, you basically can do whatever you want if you can win challenges, right? And the competitions aren't really that hard, right? It's like, it's not really a physical challenge. It's more like a one-on-one kind of like gameplay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different kind of competition altogether. So as long as you're good at challenges or good at beating other people in challenges, you can talk all the shit you want in Big Brother. Because if they want to get you out, they got to like take you out. The challenge isn't like that.
No.
Right? Like, you can get voted into elimination round and lose to a weaker team, as he just did in his mind, right? But there's so many different levels to the challenge that all you're doing by talking all this shit is putting a target on your back. And that's the part that he doesn't realize.
I definitely feel like, and I grew up watching Big Brother, but I definitely feel like we saw this last season with Natalie, and to a lesser extent,
Victor.
We've seen it with Jose and Davon. But Big Brother is checkers, and the challenge is chess.
Agreed.
Like,
yeah, I agree.
And Davon in confessional says, like, Paulie, what are you doing? Like, how did you get so many enemies in the house in like less than a week? Like,
right?
And she didn't really get into this, but you have a girlfriend at home. Like, just reel it in. Like, can you really? Is your self-control that bad?
I mean, I don't know what his gameplay is. I think maybe being so tight with Kara, maybe that gave him a sense of confidence, because she's obviously one of the vets in the game, and being so tight to her, like, that made him think that he had a level of safety because she would be able to protect him. Like, I don't know. I really don't know what his MO was coming in that hard, and especially coming in that hard, even if you take the, for lack of a better term, showmance, right? Him and Kara, it's like you have a girlfriend. So even that side of it doesn't really make sense either. So it's just super weird gameplay from him. But yeah, he basically is the face of this episode, right? He's so involved in the confessionals. He's actually at the center of all the drama, and he's in the redemption house, right? So it was super weird. But there are a lot of things, John, that I could have done without in this episode. I mean, the Nelson Kaylee drama, I'm assuming that's probably going to be the next thing that we see come to a head in the gameplay action of it, because they seem to be pushing it really hard right now, right? So that leads you to believe in the next coming weeks there'll be some big decision coming up between Nelson and Kaylee. But I could do without hearing about that drama. Don't really care. Zach and Jenna, even though we've basically watched their relationship unfold on TV, right, and seen the highs and lows of it all, I still kind of like, I don't really care at this point. I'm like happy they're together. I'm happy that everything's cool, but I don't really care. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like so much wasted time.
Yep.
And I could do with more things, like them making fun of whatever that thing was on Shane's head.
I am here for his hair growth helmet. He looks like
What was that for real? Like, that was my first question. Is that a real thing?
yeah.
Like, for real, like, people wear that shit to, like, I don't even want it. I have so many questions.
So
because I thought it was a joke.
because I bring the research. As soon as you mentioned it, I Googled it. And I can tell you, it's not a unique product. There are several laser caps to stimulate hair growth.
Okay.
And apparently infrared light can stimulate hair growth. It can, I should say, there are products that are sold that allegedly do this. I don't know that they actually work.
I called it on Twitter because I had a picture of it, and I called it the new Beats by Bald headphones.
That's good.
No? Does that work? Yeah.
I just said that he looked like Tron Guy. Remember Tron Guy in the early internet days?
Oh, yes. That's a solid reference.
Thank you.
But again, like, I'd just rather have the funny, interactions like that where they're making fun of some of the quirks of some of these people. And again, maybe that's coming. Like, watching him and Johnny Bananas go back and forth, I'm here for that. Watching Johnny Bananas do his thing with Angela, I'm here for that in doses, because I know it's kind of fake and they're just trying to, get in the show.
Yeah.
But I'm here for that in doses a lot more than trying to be convinced that Nelson still likes Kaylee, and does Kaylee forgive him, and who's mad at who. And,
well, I gotta say,
I don't know.
The thing that pissed me off the most about the Nelson Kaylee thing on this episode was that Zach is explaining how much he loves Jenna and how he made mistakes and she made mistakes, but that, like, she would do anything for him. He loves her so much, and that, like, he's getting his head sorted, and that he's loves her so much, and then Nelson's like, yeah, I thought I had that with Kaylee. Listen, Nelson, if you're listening, go fuck yourself.
Here's my question, though. No, sorry, I'll let you finish.
It's not the same. You can't compare a 5-year relationship that is a real life relationship. Like, I know that Jenna and Zach met on TV, but they're at the point where they've met each other's families. They have been off and on for 5 years. Like,
yeah, they've done seasons while dating. They've done seasons apart. They've done seasons in every single situation, basically. Right?
Nelson has known Kaylee for less than a year. They never really dated. They have only seen each other, apparently, outside the house once. Like, in person, when after he got eliminated last season, he went and visited her in London for the night. That's it.
Yeah. It's incredible.
You're not on the same level.
Made me honestly believe. I know we make fun of Nelson. We have on past seasons. And, I feel like there is some real growth in Nelson's character. Mm-hmm. And I say character because I'm talking about him in terms of a television character here. But it made me question, is this real? Like, he can't really be this sprung over Kaylee, can he?
Yeah. I 100% believe that this is real.
Or at least, what do you think about what Johnny Banana said? Johnny Banana says that he thinks Nelson really does have feelings for Kaylee, but Kaylee is just using Nelson for the gameplay. I
think he's 100% correct.
Interesting.
What did you disagree with Bananas?
No. I agree. It's just the more and more that it was going along, I was like, Nelson shouldn't be, like, fawning over this one girl. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's other girls in the house. There's other girls outside the house. Like, what's so special about Kaylee? What is it that I'm missing? Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously she's a beautiful, beautiful girl. She's dope as hell. No lie there. but you're in a house with other dope girls as well.
I was gonna say,
right? Like Nelson's a pretty good looking dude. I'm pretty sure he can get girls outside of the house. Like, what is it about Kaylee? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not her intellect. She doesn't seem to be the sharpest knife in the drawer.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's she's dope, but she's not that dope to have you sprung like that on national TV after she dissed you on national TV, and now you're coming back for more? That doesn't even make sense to me. I don't get it.
That conversation that they were having, the two of them, where they're sort of like getting to the bottom of things, and she's like, I'm sorry I said those things. I was trying to hurt you. I wanted you to hurt. That's not the kind of person you want in your life. Like, for real. And like, true. I know he's like 12 years old, but you don't want that kind of like energy in your life. You don't want someone whose like go-to is, oh, you hurt me a little bit, so I am going to fucking nuke you on national television.
Yeah, it's not cool at all. It's just weird. Like, I just found it totally, totally weird. And, again, they're filling time. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not. I love to hear other people's opinion. So you know what? Obviously we have a lot of female listeners to our podcast as well who love the challenge. And I'd like to hear from them just to get their take on Nelson, right? Like, just because the way that I read it might be one way, but I'm coming from like a guy's point of view. And in terms of like, if he was one of my boys, what would I be telling him? Do you know what I mean? Like, what advice would I be giving him? But I'd love to hear the female perspective in terms of, a girl finding that attractive or not finding that attractive. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess what I think the answer is to that. But I'll leave that to you, ladies.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I am curious to hear what women think of Nelson. But in my mind, the issue is that he stinks of desperation, and that's not attractive to anyone.
Very true. Confidence is very key, and that is something Nelson definitely lacks. That is true.
And he's just so desperate to make it work that it doesn't fly. But there's other things going on in the main house. There's some tension.
Yeah, I was going to say on the opposite end. I was going to say though, on the opposite end of the spectrum of confidence, there's your boy Johnny Bananas.
My boy,
and he's not here for Shane's questions. Shane is trying to figure out who voted for who, and he's going around trying to ask people about this, but he's trying to do it out in the open to expose people. And Johnny Bananas isn't really having that. Which side of this do you fall on? Are you on Shane's side or are you on Johnny Bananas' side here?
I'm on Johnny Bananas' side.
Same. I'm shocked that you said that, but I agree.
Longtime listeners know I do not like Johnny Bananas. But here's the thing. He's 100% right that Shane's math relies on the idea that everyone was honest with him.
Exactly.
All it takes is one person to lie, and everything's thrown off.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is...
And also... No, go on.
The second thing is... Shane says, like, I want everyone to know what a snake with Johnny Bananas is. No one on this show doesn't know that Johnny Bananas is it. Like, everyone knows. Don't need to put him on blast. Just, like, for sure do the math. It's important to do the math. Pull Shane aside, figure it out, but don't get upset about it. Like, be a professional. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree with you. And the thing is, what is really your end goal here, right?
Yeah.
Are you trying to find out? Are you trying to actually help your game in terms of finding out who would have voted for you? And then you can go back and maybe, try to work that alliance or change their minds or whatever. Or are you just trying to expose Johnny Bananas? Because to me, it seems like it's more the latter. You're trying to expose Johnny Bananas to the house, which, as you just said, doesn't need to be done.
No.
So you're just causing drama for no reason. And plus, Johnny Bananas plays it perfectly because he's like, what are you really trying to do? You're going to ask me in front of everybody? Like, what purpose does that serve? Why would I even answer that? Like, that doesn't benefit anybody here. it doesn't even benefit you, right? So it's just a weird play by Shane. But maybe like all of those rays he was getting from his Beats by Bald helmet were getting to him, because that just wasn't good gameplay in my opinion.
But it's classic Shane. Shane is sort of like Camilla, where he just can't even stand the thought of someone voting for him.
But I also think Shane, he overplays the game
He does.
so early all the time, right? Like he's so anxious all the time to find out like who's voting for who's doing this, how can I manipulate this move, how can I manipulate that, and it throws him off each and every season. Whereas he's a pretty good competitor,
Yeah,
right? And the fact that he just tries to overplay the game and can't keep his emotions in check, it's bad for business. And if you're trying to be in the business of winning $1 million, Shane, you gotta switch your game up, man. Got to switch your game.
I agree with you completely. I think Shane is low-key good in competitions.
Exactly. No, I totally agree.
And
but it goes further to your point that you made earlier, right, about Big Brother being checkers and the challenge being chess. And it's so true, because there's so many different sides to this game. And Shane would probably be really good at Big Brother, right? Because he can stir up drama, but at the end of the day, he'll probably do well in competitions.
Yeah.
And as long as you can do that in Big Brother, you're going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, people will be afraid to put you up because you can just take yourself off the block, right?
Yep.
You can't do that in the challenge house. So causing trouble literally does nothing for you. Nothing.
Nothing. Meanwhile, something else that does nothing at all for me, Bananas and Angela hitting it off. We see a scene...
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Now, I was just about to say, now, I'm black. And then I realized that's a very odd way to start a sentence.
No.
On this podcast.
I'm curious to know where this goes.
It doesn't get much better, but here we go anyways. I'm black, so I don't deal much with sunscreen at all.
Okay,
right?
That's fair. Now I see where this is going.
But I will say this much. I've witnessed people put on sunscreen a lot.
Uh-huh.
I've, obviously gone on vacation with my friends. I've seen them put on sunscreen a lot. One thing I can tell you that I've never seen is I've never seen someone have to sit in someone else's lap, like on a chair, to apply sunscreen on their back. I've never seen that before.
I will allow it's an unconventional application method.
Yeah. It didn't look like, he could get like a full range of her body. It was very centralized.
Yeah.
But also you're leaving a lot of other parts of her body unprotected, which I guess maybe he could have done at another time that we didn't really see. But also, with someone sitting in your lap, literally, you don't have that wide range of motion to like move around. You're kind of pinned down with her ass in your lap.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad position to be in, but I just don't know how productive it is for applying sunscreen, because as we were told, she does have a boyfriend. So
a boyfriend who, if I understand correctly, she lived with at this point.
Oh. Hey, maybe she's just on the mandate, do what you got to do to get the money. $500,000 can do a lot, And if your girlfriend just has to go on TV and flirt, I mean, there's better ways to make money, but who am I to tell you that is not right for you?
And
the star of Bad Girls Club.
And we've discussed this before, but Johnny Bananas is not the man I would be hitching my wagon to.
Who pointed that out? Was it Zach? Zach was like, this is his play every year. He tries to find a rookie.
Yeah, he goes after the rookie.
Tries to cozy up to.
He's like a senior who hits on freshmen, because all the other seniors know what a scumbag he is.
What's the character from that Fast Times at
Ridgemont High? I got there eventually.
Yes.
That's what I love about high school girls. I keep getting older, but they stay the same age.
Yes.
No, wait, that's Dazed and Confused.
Damn it. I messed it up.
We both messed it up.
You're right. I messed it up. Sigh. Anyways.
Onwards and upwards.
So yes, Angela, there's like some 20-year-old kid listening to this podcast. It's like, what the fuck are these guys talking about right
Listen.
now? What are these movies?
Listen, 20-year-old.
Like, are they talking about Superbad?
Listen to...
You're talking about...
Listen here, 20-year-old. Go fire up your Netflix. That's just going to tell them to go to the video store. Fire up your Netflix and watch both Dazed and Confused and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and thank me later.
What's a video store?
What video store?
What's a video store?
That one Blockbuster that's left in Hawaii or wherever it is.
Did you have a Jumbo Video in your area?
Yeah.
There's a Jumbo Video by my house that like we would just go into as kids because they had free popcorn.
Well, there's still Queen Street Video is still going, and I believe I have a membership. So shout out Queen Street Video. Of course, I'm a good North Toronto boy, so we fucks with video flicks.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, what else was going on here? One thing I don't want to watch on video that much is a Redemption House, but there was a lot of stuff going on in the Redemption House, but I do have one question.
Okay.
Does Brittany ever wear pants?
No. One thing I noted was, so backing up to the start of the episode, we should have pointed this out before, but when Paulie and Natalie first came into the Redemption House, they're having their little Big Brother conference with Jose and Davon, and Chuck is passed out in the room. Like, he's dead to the world.
Yes.
And the next morning, he wakes up, and he has a vase in his hand. Like a flower vase.
You know what? I'm not going to knock him for that. Because
I want to know, did he put his drinks in the vase, or when he was passed out, did someone put a vase in his hand?
All I'm going to say is, I feel like a lot of us have had moments where, let's say you get home and you might not be of all your wits, let's say. You might be under the influence, let's say. And so you just end up grabbing whatever you can grab to fill up with water.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And sometimes the closest thing to you or the most available thing that's big enough is a vase. And so you end up bringing that with you. You don't second guess it. You're just kind of like, I need something bigger than my normal cup because I'm going to need this in the morning. And hey, lesson for the young bucks.
Yeah.
You got to drink a big thing of water before you go to bed.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
100%.
First thing in the morning, do it again. Right? And you'll feel better. It's tough in the moment, but hey, I'm not going to knock Chuck for that one. There's a lot of things to knock Chuck for, but this is not one of them.
You know what's also really good for you young bucks listening? We're just such an educational podcast. Have a banana first thing in the morning when you're hungover.
Yes. Hold on. Who said anything? Never mind. Never mind. I was going to make a terrible joke, and I just never mind. Yeah. So lots of stuff going on in the Redemption House, and we find out now that it's about to go down already. Were you surprised at how quickly the Redemption House twist was going to come into play?
Yeah, this is one of my problems with the Redemption House. They don't let it percolate. Like the first ever Redemption House, when they had I guess it was Rivals 2, when they had the sort of shadow bracket and Johnny Bananas and I guess it was Nani. Maybe that was X's.
Yeah, I think it was Nani. But
came back into the house. That was at when they were basically down in the final four.
Yeah. That
was good. We've only had one actual elimination. This is far too soon.
See, and I think it's all just based off creating fake drama, right? And so, because here's the thing, right? They plotted it out so that it would be the double cross, right? So if you remember past seasons of the show, the double cross was a huge hit for the elimination round. And basically every week we're trying to guess on our own which actual thing would be the double cross, right? Was it in place 1, 2, 3, or 4? And so that was a lot of fun, became a huge thing. Who was it? Jordan ended up dominating the double cross, right? And basically getting it right every single time he was involved in it.
And I had the theory that you could tell which one it was.
Exactly. So now this time around, right? To me, there's some conspiracy theories being thrown out there, right? And one of them being here, because the way that it plays out was whoever picked a double cross then got to pick what other team from the Redemption House they were going to go against in an elimination and get back into the house. But when they went to decide who got to pick first, it was magically Paulie and Natalie. Do you think that's fair that Paulie and Natalie got to be the first ones to pick despite being the last ones in the Redemption House?
Well, they were the second ones to pick, right?
Oh, sorry, they were the second ones. They were second ones to pick,
but
yes.
Yeah, I think it should have been the first three teams got their chance before Paulie and Natalie. Like, there should be some sort of punishment.
So here's the thing. I feel like, and I'm going to give Marie credit for this because she was alluding to a push maybe, possibly, a push behind the scenes for the Big Brother crew to make it back into the game. And I think I agree with her here. I think if I'm putting my producer hat on here, I'm going to agree, and I'm going to think that they were trying to force feed one of the Big Brother crew back into the house. And you might ask yourself, well, why would they do that? And here's a little lesson. If you don't watch Big Brother, which I'm sure a lot of people don't, Big Brother is a smash hit ratings-wise. Big Brother, holds down the CBS ratings for the summertime, right? And Big Brother is on 3 nights a week and puts up crazy numbers 3 times a week during the summer.
Yeah.
Right? So you might ask, what night of the week does that air? Well, it airs Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. What's interesting about that? Well, what airs on Tuesdays?
The Challenge.
So if I'm a producer and I'm bringing these Big Brother people on because obviously I'm trying to play off of their popularity from that other show, I'm now invested in their continued success and maybe, give them as many chances as possible to be on the show. So if I'm wearing my producer hat, I totally agree with what Marie is alluding to, what Jemmy even alluded to. And I mean, Jemmy maybe had one of the lines of the episode. It's not my line of the episode, but she did say, this Big Brother douchebag pulls the double cross, which I thought was very funny. But they all seem to be on the same page in terms of realizing what's going on with this Big Brother push, let's say. What do you think of that, John?
I mean, on the one hand, I agree with what Marie is saying and what you're saying. But on the other hand, people are still convinced that they made Paulie lose on purpose with the equalizer in the competition against Cam and Kaylee. I'd like to read a couple of tweets from listener. His handle is 91 Dan Marino. And Big Baller Banks, which, I mean, first of all, shout out to 2 killer names. I love it. But Big Baller Banks, 91 Dan Marino to his friends, says, love the pod. Great start to the tweet. Mm-hmm. However, I do think y'all were going a little too hard on Paulie. During the elimination, you can clearly hear him say, I want to take a shot at one of the guys, but Natalie was the one that wanted to face Kaylee. And for what it's worth, at the start of tonight's episode, God, John, speak English. He said when he was explaining to Jose and Davon, he said I wanted those guys, but she wanted Cam and Kaylee. But Big Baller Banks goes on to say, plus, how is it fair if Cam can stand straight up at the cage with no stress, while Paulie had to crawl to get to the cage? Don't get me wrong, Cam is my favorite on the show, but I think they equalized it too much by having the band way too short for Paulie. So, on the one hand, I agree with what you and Marie are saying. On the other hand, there is a lot of people that think it was the equalizer bans in that competition were unfairly slanted.
Here's my counter to that. And first off, I got to give a shout out to, hold on, what's my guy's name? What's his actual name?
Big Baller Banks or 91 Dan Marino?
So first off, I got to give shouts to Big Baller Banks because the 91 Dan Marino might be a reference to a Drake line in one of my favorite like Drake Jay-Z collaboration songs called Pound Cake. Yeah. So when he said that 91 Dan Marino, I'm like, that's in my head for some reason. That's a line for sure, and it is a Drake line. He says a contract like 91 Dan Marino, like it's a reference. Which, being from Toronto, we will co-sign that for sure. Anytime you're shouting out Drake, and I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, so two things right there. Boom. Shout out to listening to the podcast because I appreciate that love.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, okay? That all could be true, but if you're really in the business of stretching out this season, which I feel like they are, isn't it more dramatic to have Paulie lose than have to work his way back into the house? Instead of, because how much would we have cared? I mean, and most people might tell you they didn't care about the Redemption House twist, right?
Yeah.
But how much would they have cared about the Redemption House twist if it wasn't Paulie? And let's say Paulie and them won, right? And then it was Killa Cam and Kaylee going into the Redemption House, and then now they're working it back in. Like, just look at how great all the drama was because it was Paulie talking all this shit, because it was Paulie and coming back now 1 week after Brad and Kyle sent him out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just made for that much more drama. Now, do I think they plotted that whole thing out? You know, in terms of exactly how that would play out? No, not at all. But I think there's two reasons for it. I think it was to make the players aware right away to beware of the twists of the eliminations, because obviously you're going to go in against a team that might have it might be an all-female team.
Yeah.
Right? But I think it was important for them to show early on that, hey, don't think that that's taking the easy way, just picking the all-girls team. And if you notice, he didn't pick the all-girls team this time around, right?
No, he did not.
Which probably would have been easier for them if you think about it. Maybe, possibly, I don't know, right? But it's interesting. It's super interesting. And I'd love to hear more people's opinions on it. And I like when we disagree because I think it's super interesting, right? At the same time, because I don't know what's right.
Me neither.
Right?
I have another tweet to read out. Chris Burkholm, who you shouted out last episode of You Killed It, says, "Love the shout out, guys. The equalizer is clearly a gender thing, but are we sure Paulie is even bigger than Cam? Also, Johnny sure could have used an equalizer in the backpack elimination versus CT, but challenges aren't fair, I guess. Looking forward to the rest of the season and podcasts." First of all, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Second of all, people are... I mean, I guess I rewatched the competition, and yeah, the bands are not the same. Like, he did have a shorter or, like, tougher band. But on the other hand, he did get all the blocks over to Natalie. And, like, we
True.
don't know the timing, but, like, Natalie kind of choked.
Well, here's the thing, right? And especially after watching how this week's went down as well. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but it appears to be the theme of what's going on, right? There's so many different layers to what this game is. So, especially when you look at that puzzle challenge, right? You're talking about how difficult it was for Cam compared to Paulie, but at the same time, we talked about how great of a job Cam did in terms of helping out Kaylee. Cam was really coaching her and telling her where to move the blocks and put the block here, move that one there, switch that one to the back. Paulie wasn't really doing that at all.
No.
Right? And that's just another level of these challenge games. And if you go to how the end of this episode played out, again, another perfect example. It looked like a straight strength challenge, but when you break it down, if you just adjusted your technique, right, you would have been way better off as well, instead of just trying to, like, bully through the entire time, right? There's a method to it, I think, if you kind of twisted it to a different angle and then pulled,
Yeah.
right? Then twisted it again and then pulled. Now you're weakening you're weakening the outer portion of the hole more, right?
Well,
and I think there was a strategy to it more than just pulling it as hard as you can.
Yeah, well, Davon kind of... So, sorry, just for background, for those of you who have somehow not watched this yet, Paulie and Natalie pick Jose and Davon to go against.
And do you buy Paulie's thing that he just did that to send home the girlfriends of Zach and the girlfriend of Brad?
Well, actually, no. So let's talk about that. I thought, like, I was still on board with Paulie a little bit at this point because I think Jose and Davon are the best choices because
okay,
Jose and Davon are his and Natalie's closest allies in the house. So at least one of them is getting back into the house. Right?
Okay.
And
interesting.
Also, I think in terms of a competition, Jose and Davon might have... I thought would have been the easiest to beat amongst their choices.
Really? See, I didn't think so at all. See, I felt like they might have been they might have been the best team to go at this.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I just thought that, okay, Jose is not good at challenges, right? But I feel like what we've seen Jose do, it's like we know that Jose can't swim and he can't play hockey or giant foosball, right? Like we know he's terrible at
that. Yes, we do.
I feel like he, in something that looked very straightforward, I feel like he could have done a good job in that, right? Whereas I feel like they're standing there. You have some idea of what the challenge is going to be, no?
Yeah.
While they're all standing there, I could be wrong, but I feel like you have some idea of what it's going to be.
No, I think that's accurate.
And I just feel like he got scared off. And going back to what happened last week, I think he got scared off by just saying, I'm going to go against Jemmye and Jenna. Because I feel like they beat Jemmye and Jenna.
I think maybe because I think Jenna is strong enough to pull it through. And I think Jemmye is smart enough to realize what Davon realized, which is you don't have to smash a big hole. You just have to get enough give so that you can, ease the hammerhead out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you're right, but I don't know. I think they made the wrong move, and I know it sounds like hindsight now, but I honestly thought that I probably would have chosen Brittany and Chuck.
You know what was the wrong move? 100%? Announcing that he was sending them in, or sending Jemmye and Jenna and Brittany and Chuck home as a shot at Zach and Brad. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
Of course it was. Because it makes no sense, right? Like, again, it's serving no purpose because, well, two things. One, you haven't even competed yet, so you could still lose, right? So now you look like even more of an idiot because you're saying you sent them home, not because you didn't think you could beat them, but because you're trying to get back at people who are already in the game that you're trying to get into. So you're going to make that call and talk that much shit before you get back into the house yourself? That makes no sense.
And, why is he so angry with Zach? Okay, Zach voted for you, but, and? You know what I mean?
That's it. Zach voted for him. He started talking shit, and Zach started talking shit back to him last week. That's all that. That's all it was. It's ego, right?
And
it's all a straight ego.
And how are you so angry at Kyle when you should not be flirting with Cara Maria because you have a girlfriend at home?
Exactly.
Right? Just keep your mouth shut. Remember who voted for you in, for sure. And it's the same point I had with Shane. You have to keep track of your enemies. But, you don't have to be so in your face about it, especially when you haven't gotten the deed done.
Yeah, it just made no sense. It was a terrible, terrible move on all sides to say that you're voting them out just because to get back at those people, and then again, you it serves you no purpose, right? Like there's no benefit to that at all. You're just angering people that can affect your game not only now but going forward, right? Like you're just building enemies because you're talking so much trash. And then I mean, you get into it. Well, sorry. One other thing I wanted to bring up about just what went down. Jemmy was also apologizing on Twitter to production for how much she was cursing at them while filming because she was pretty upset about how the whole redemption thing played out, right? In terms of who got to pick, who didn't get to pick.
Yeah.
She was kind of alluding to the same things that Marie was also alluding to as well. And, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting, but also funny that she's also a great Twitter follow, which I keep telling you guys every week. If you are watching along with the show, you should be following Jemmy as well while watching the show.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, overall, Paulie just had maybe the worst go. And it's funny because I wrote down at the beginning, he was doing a terrible Johnny Bananas impression. And I didn't mean it to come out like this, but it was a Johnny Bananas impression of what Johnny Bananas has turned into.
Yeah,
and what I mean by that is what happened to him with Devin, right? Talking a whole big game, and then when it was time to back it up, dude got lost twice. And I know you can try to blame your partner, right? And blame Natalie, and of course Natalie deserves some of the blame, but he didn't help her at all. Whereas we saw it, and maybe they took it out, maybe they didn't edit it in, right? But you saw Jose helping Davon and trying to give her some form of strategy, right?
And
whereas Paulie was just kind of like yelling at her, like, "Come on, Natalie, let's go."
Jose helped Davon maintain her composure, and she eased, like she even said in confessional, I stopped for a minute, I took a breath, I looked at it, and then I figured out how I could ease it out. And part of that was Jose.
Hold on. What was the exact line? What was the exact line?
I didn't write it out.
She said she stopped, she took a breath, and then summoned the strength of her inner Black Panther?
Yes.
Something like that?
That's right.
That might not be a direct quote, but it was something along those lines. Davon's confessionals are very
Wakanda
funny.
forever,
I
bud.
thought she was very funny. Hey, not mad at all for that reference. Yeah, it was just a weird performance. And yes, Natalie didn't do a good job at all. And that's probably 2 weeks in a row, but also it's kind of showing how exactly what I'm talking about. Big Brother, you can rely on yourself. You can rely on yourself to win challenges. But in the challenge, there's so many different angles to the game. And so Paulie can talk all the shit that he wants, but unless you can help your partner also finish, you're going to take an L. And he took an L.
This is also a big thing. Challenge competitions are way harder than Big Brother competitions.
Exactly. Big Brother's more like a board game, if that makes sense. It's like giant board games.
You know what I was thinking? Big Brother is a PG movie, maybe a G or F movie, and the challenge is rated R for violence. There is no competition in Big Brother. Like, you know how sometimes on the challenge, they'll basically make them do the Oklahoma drill, where they're just like locked and loaded and running at each other? There is no equivalent in Big Brother. Big Brother is like, oh, we put soap down on like a slippery floor and you have to carry this egg on a spoon, or like it's entertaining, but it is not the violence or the absolute strain psychologically that the challenge is. The challenge is like, yeah, we're going to keep you up for 48 hours and then you have to memorize shit. Like, it's way hard. It's nothing similar.
No, I totally agree. It's like, you know, the difference in level of competition between the champs versus and a regular season of the challenge. But it's like if you took those competitions on the champs versus and took them down even another notch or two.
Yeah, I'd say champs versus is tougher than Big Brother in terms of competitions.
No, for sure it is. Definitely it is. But yeah, there's so much going on though, like with them. But even like while the competition was going on, I guess after the loss, the reactions were maybe the best thing.
Oh, they were
and
beauty.
This might be where this episode like redeemed itself for me totally, because you had Amanda calling Paulie a loser, which I thought was amazing, and even doing the full like putting the L on her forehead, like we're back in grade 5. I love Amanda. I think Amanda's awesome. But I thought that was really funny. The shot of them just like laughing and all looking around at each other. I think it was like CT and Brad, or CT and Zach for sure, just kind of looking at each other like, this guy talked so much shit and then he still lost. Like, that was the most amazing part to me. And everyone's just laughing at Paulie. They're laughing at him, and he keeps talking and keeps talking. And Zach said, as I mentioned earlier, he lost 2 eliminations in 24 hours. Like, that has to be some type of like Big Brother challenge record, no?
Oh yeah, it's a terrible performance. And you're talking shit after you lose. I have so many issues with this whole scene. First of all,
it made no sense.
He's talking shit after he lost. He was talking about how he was engaging in psychological warfare. Let me ask you, who was more upset? Zach, Brad, CT, Kyle, or Paulie?
I'm going to go with Paulie.
Paulie. Then he throws the nuke in his arsenal, and he's already lost the competition, and he's lost face. He then throws out to Brad, I did you a favor. Your girl is fucking her ex, referring to Chuck, back in the redemption house. How are you gonna kiss her when he was fucking her last night? And Brad looks very shook and hurt.
He does.
And I have so many problems with this. First of all, Paulie says that, it's gameplay. Like, I'm just trying to get into their kitchen. It's not gameplay. You've been eliminated. You're just being an asshole. And
Hold on. Are they actually eliminated?
Well, they go back to the redemption house, but they're not in the game. Like, I
think they get back in the game, though. Like, or they'll get another chance.
They'll get another chance to get back in the game, but even still, my other problem is, how is Natalie implicitly signing off on this?
Yeah, I was surprised at that too. How nobody, because there's other people around, obviously, like even Jose and Davon, and they kind of alluded to the fact that, people are going to have questions, but we're just going to let them kind of stir in it for a bit, which kind of seems lame to me. Because how is that benefiting the game, right? It's not like Brittany's still in the house to have this be a full-on problem. Yeah. It's not like Chuck's still in the house to make this a full-on problem. So you're just trying to rattle Brad? Like, what is this? It's not like he's shooting free throws. Yeah. You know what I mean? To, like, win Game 7 of the finals. Like, it's a challenge house. Like, who cares, right? Like, even whether it's true or not, I don't see how that would affect him that much. And again, once it gets out that it's not true, that's just another L that you're taking if you're Paulie.
Well, and Davon tried to, like, shush him. Like, she tried to get in the way, tried to get her hand over his mouth. But bringing it back to Natalie, she has been so mad at Kaylee, and in my opinion, rightly, for fucking with her real life. Right? Mm-hmm. By outing her as pansexual. Well, Kaylee called her lesbian. Natalie is actually pansexual, but still. Paulie is doing the same thing where he's fucking with Brad and Brittany's real life. And all that happened was Brad went along with Kyle voting for him, when, again, Paulie has a girlfriend at home and he's screwing around with Cara. Like...
Yeah, none of it makes sense.
It's such...
Like, literally none of it makes sense.
Honestly, it's one of the most dickish asshole things I've seen on this show.
It was also just, like, super lame because Paulie was doing the classic hold me back. Like, I think Zach summed it up perfectly. Zach's like, dude, you're trying to act tough on the challenge. Like, what are you doing, right? Like, they're laughing at him, and they're like, you're acting tough on the challenge. And it's like, You know you're not gonna like if you really want to fight, you can fight. But you don't really want to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just super lame. And I thought the best reaction, like, and I don't know how other people viewed this, but I'm like, oh, it's funny watching CT and them laugh. And when they started running towards, when Paulie started going towards, CT picks up Veronica and like moves her out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. So that like she doesn't get like in the way of anything. But then it cuts to CT's confessional, and at that moment it clicked in my head, and I was like, this is so funny because it's almost like I forgot about who CT actually is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like CT actually like beat up people on this show.
As did Brad.
So imagine him watching this now. Exactly, as did Brad. Yeah. So imagine watching this now where it's like, okay, well, you obviously know nothing's going to happen or nothing real is going to happen, right? Like you wouldn't even get a punch in, really. It's just funny to see, and like, the classic hold me back type fight. It was funny. It was entertaining in that sense, but it was funny just watching these guys chirp them. And I can't even say I'm that much of a fan of Brad or Zach, but it's like by bringing on Paulie, who's even like more douchey, it made me like Brad and Zach, or at least be on their side in this argument. And then it was topped off by their like amazing confessional where they just didn't say a word. They just looked at each other and started laughing. That might be one of the greatest confessional moments in Challenge history.
Absolutely.
I was dying. Like, I laughed out loud myself when that happened.
Another knock against Paulie. God, he looked so bad in this. Paulie calls Brad and Zach cowards, and Kyle. But are they?
Okay.
Like, he and Natalie chose not to face Zach and Amanda in the competition.
Also true.
They could not face Brad and Kyle, but it's not like Brad and Kyle were ducking them. And then, when Paulie has the chance to like take on a good team, or I think Jenna and Jemmy were probably the toughest team in the Redemption House. He chose not to take them on, and like chose to like make it oddly personal. Like, who's the coward here? I don't see how you can say that Brad, Kyle, Zach, and by extension Amanda are cowards, right? Like it's the nature of the beast. They didn't have an opportunity to face them, and Natalie and Paulie opted not to face them. So
it was just a fake tough guy stuff. The fake tough guy stuff like makes me laugh, right? Because you talk so much shit, and then you just keep making it worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Like, because, hey, I love trash talking. If you're good, talk all the trash you want.
Like Devin?
I'm for bat flipping. I'm for celebrating. I'm for everything in sports. I like fun things. So if you're going to talk shit and win, cool. But if you talk shit and lose, you got to just take it.
Yeah.
Right? Just take it. You can't still keep talking shit and then throwing out a stupid lie. Like, you're definitely the LVP of this. Forget this episode, this season so far, right? Like, you're just taking L's every which way so far in this season.
I would love to know what Kara thought of this scene.
She's awfully quiet.
I mean,
awfully not in the mix.
I mean, they ended up dating after all of this, so she wasn't like that turned off. But man, what a bad look.
Isn't she dating someone after every season?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing. And that, I don't mean that as a knock. I just mean I'm going to go out on a limb, and if I had to bet, chances are next season of the challenge, whenever that is, she might be seeing someone else, which is fine. Grown-ass woman. Do what you do. But I don't really think she's in her feelings.
No.
Oh. See what I did there? I was adding more drink points for our guy, 91 Dan Marino.
How about this? How about this? Paulie couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight.
Okay.
A little Jay-Z for you? Okay. Come on now.
I'm there. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm not good with lyrics. I had to dig deep for that. Come on now.
For the record, though, for our listeners that might be into the Drake stuff and know and understood the 91 Dan Marino line, Pound Cake is unofficially a Jay-Z record, right? Like, I know that it was on Drake's album, but I feel like real heads know Yeah, so that's a story for another day, John. But in terms of stories for this day and this episode, did you have a line of this episode, John, that was your favorite?
No, I didn't, and that's part of my problem with this episode. Was that like it wasn't like obviously it wasn't as serious as some other episodes that you've had. Like, I mean, to me, the most serious episode was the Camilla Leroy altercation, but like it wasn't a very funny episode. Like, no one had like a good zinger or something quotable, and like I was thinking hard on it, and I was also thinking hard on like what could the title of our episode of You Killed It be? But I got nothing. What about you? Did you have anything?
So it was CT, Johnny Bananas, and Zach all sitting in a room with Kaylee, and they were discussing Nelson making a trip over to, I guess, was it London? Is that where she's from? Yeah, so Nelson, after he got eliminated, made a trip over to go see her, and they asked her if she made dinner for him, and she's like, "No, I didn't cook." And then she's not catching on to the joke at all. And Johnny Banana said, "Yeah, he told us that he had clams." And then she's like, "No." And then Zach's like, "No, meat curtains? No." And then CT says, "Fur burgers?" And she's like, "What? I made him burgers?" And at that point, CT's like, "I don't know how many other how many other things we can come up for sexual innuendo." And she's like, "What? So a furry meatball is a vagina?" And it's like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, a furry meatball. Who said anything about a furry meatball? Like, it was just,
No.
yeah. So I don't know if we can actually call an episode "A Furry Meatball is a Vagina." I don't know if we can do that, but yeah.
So while you're explaining all that, I have to tell you, I looked it up. She lives in London, but she is Welsh.
Oh,
She is
okay.
from Port Talbot, Wales.
Okay. Shouts to Gareth Bale, right?
That's right. Had a boy. Yeah, I got nothing.
She also had nothing because she didn't understand what was going on at all.
Yeah, I guess we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I need to know though. I want to know who killed it for you this week.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but my pick for who killed it is Brad and Zach. And the reason why I'm picking Brad and Zach is because I just thought it was super hilarious, everything that went down in that elimination. And so if I'm going to call Paulie by far the LVP.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He was trying to like do all these things to get back at those guys, and everything just played out in their fashion, like in their corner. Everything was positive for Zach and Brad. Again, culminating in the greatest confessional moment I can remember in terms of them not saying anything to each other other than looking at each other and then laughing. That was incredible. And yeah, Zach just telling Paulie, like, "Bro, you're trying to act tough on the challenge. Like, what are you doing?" Right?
Yeah.
And it was just super lame. And he's like, "Oh, I've knocked out big guys like you for fun." Like, really, dude? Like, what are you talking about? What
Get
are
out
you
of here.
talking about? Right?
I'll tell you who killed it for me. Davon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I have this logic to my madness. First of all, I thought she was on point in her confessional. Especially when she said, "Paulie, what are you doing?" Mm-hmm. It was like the classic Knick Knack Paddywhack Instagram account. The classic, "Oh, baby, no, what is you doing?"
Yeah,
that was Davon.
Yeah, I got you.
And I also, she got back into the house. She performed well under pressure. She did something that we rarely see people do on the challenge, which is take a minute to compose themselves.
Exactly.
And you know what? Like, I have not watched Big Brother really in years. Mm-hmm. But I'm not as familiar with her as you are. And we haven't really gotten to see her yet on the challenge until this episode.
Yeah.
But she seems to have her shit together. Like, I like her.
So it's funny because she was on Big Brother for 2 seasons. And the first time around, when you're loud and kind of in your face and brash, you're going to get voted out early, right? And that's what happened to her. Second time around, she was still her, but she played the political game a lot better, right? Like, she picked her spots more, right?
Yeah.
Like, you weren't going to disrespect her, but she wasn't going to go out of her way to tell you about yourself at the same time, And yeah, she's confessional gold. Her confessionals are just amazing. She's super funny. She's a grown-ass woman, right? Which comes across in the sense that, like, you're not really here for the play, if that makes sense, right? But you're going to watch it and enjoy it and have fun, right? Like, Brittany laying there in her underwear for some reason. Who knows why? But, it's just a thing. And you're just going to watch and enjoy and be like, yeah, that girl's kind of off, But,
I think
shout out to Mama Day.
I think that one of the things about Mama Day is that she is a mama. And when you have a child at home, you do have to think about, like, hey, how am I conducting myself? What would my child think if they were watching this, right? And, like, we've seen that on CT. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's taken Tony a little while to get there. I think Brad is still, he was sort of in crisis last season. But, like, it's only 4 episodes in, but I like Brad so far this season.
Same. So, I mean, and I think, again, it was funny because Nelson actually made a great point when he said he wanted Paulie and Natalie to come back in because that's just one more bigger target in the house than he is.
Yeah, it's smart. It's true.
Yeah, definitely smart. In the same way that we're talking about, Kyle and Brad and Zach, dudes that I'm not really normally on their side, but once you bring Paulie into the equation, I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy, right? Like, Zach, let's go. And I mean, I like Amanda anyways, so I'm rooting for the Zach and Amanda team anyways. So yeah, I'm okay with all this. I'm okay with how this episode went down, just because of the ending. But they need to like pick up the pace in the beginning. I don't know if they can't go to clubs. Maybe that's a thing that's out of the equation, so they can't really like go off and do things. So maybe there's not that much actually going on yet. Or this could just be a super long ass season again, right? Because really nothing's happened, right? So I hope it's not the latter. I hope it's just not because they're going to drag out the whole season.
Yeah, I also hope so. You got anything else you want to bring up, or should we wrap this up?
I think that's it. I mean, shout out again to all the people that are listening and jumping into discussions, whether it's on the different platforms in the Reddit chat group or the Facebook chat group. I do see the messages. I do enjoy the feedback a lot because it's interesting, and I love hearing what people think. And last week I asked about are people liking the twists that they had at the very end in terms of if you want to take someone out, if you're going to vote for someone to take them out, you got to be prepared to take them out yourself. People seem to be totally on board with that twist. So, yeah, it's cool just to get like another point of view, right? And just make sure that I'm not way off or you're not way off or, just adding more opinions to it. Nothing wrong with that at all, right?
Correct.
Continuing the conversation, as they say.
That's right. How can people find you on the Soch?
On the Soch. The Soch is not a term, is it? That can't be a thing, is it?
It's I'm really big into making up terms.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, and subscribe on YouTube and enjoy the YouTube content at Sheldon Alexander.
And you can get me on Twitter at J Chidley Hill and on Instagram at J Chidley Hill.
Dun dun dun.
Because I keep it simple. It's strong branding.
Also, too, I want to know where people like listen to the podcast. Like, are people listening on SoundCloud? Are people listening on iTunes? Are there other platforms people would want to listen to us on? I don't know, but just throwing it out there. See what people say. See what the peeps think.
We are such different people. As soon as you start that little paragraph, I thought you were going to be like, are they listening at home? Are they listening in the car? Are they listening on the shitter? But no, you actually had like a mature grown-up question for the good people, whereas I am but a child.
No, but people listen like everywhere, right? Like that's the beauty of a podcast. You can listen while you're doing absolutely anything.
It's true. It's true.
And I don't need to know where it is you're actually doing that.
No, you don't need that kind of detail in your life?
No, definitely not. Whatever you do on the shitter is okay with you. I don't need to know about that.
I guess I do want to wish everyone in the Greater Toronto area a happy Carabana, which is this weekend.
Oh, yes. Shouts to Carabana weekend / what would be OVO weekend, but I don't even know if there is an OVO because I haven't heard anything about it yet.
It's called something else, but Drake and the Migos. He is having OVO Fest, but it's just not called that. Forget what it's called.
Interesting.
But yeah, happy Carabana. Have fun. Stay safe.
Yes, indeed.
And until next week, this was You Killed It.
You killed